Hello and welcome to Back to the Future. So this is the program where I'm joined by our esteemed bloodstock agent, Damon Gabbedy, to talk through the success of the Magic Millions of 2024 and some similarities and how that may transpire to Magic Millions 2025. This is Damon's book. This is his Bible that he goes to the yearling sales every year. There's more bookmarks in that than any other page that I've ever seen in my life, but it's awesome to be joined by Damon so we can get a little bit of an insight as to what he's looking for when he's selecting these yearlings, the broader bloodstock process and our team, because Damon, obviously, welcome first of all.
Thank you, Ben. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
And obviously there's a lot that has happened in I remember when we went into the sales in 2024, every year we've refined our bloodstock selection process. Since we've been in market, and 2024 was a really defining year with how we went about it a little bit differently, and then we've carried that through into the 2025 sale. Before we get into it, I just want to reel off a few stats from the 2024 Magic Million sale that has been achieved in market, and admittedly we're recording this just following Apocalyptic winning the Group 2 T-Rose Stakes. So I'm going to refer to raced yearlings here because we bought 9 yearlings at that sale, and 2 of them, both Kung Fu Kid and Storm Leopard. Well, Storm Leopard was never expected to get to the track as a 2 or early 3-year-old,
right.
And Kung Fu Kid just hasn't got there yet. So stakes winners to raced yearlings is 29% strike rate. We've got stakes wins to raced yearlings at 43% strike rate. Stakes runners to raced yearlings is 57%. And 57% of these raced yearlings are also Metro winners, so whether that's Metro Saturday or Wednesday. And finally, which is a really impressive stat, 71% of these yearlings that have raced, as only early 3-year-olds have already had a win. So do you see that strike rate very often?
Those stats, Ben, are unbelievable, and I would like the My Racehorse owners to take a moment to appreciate how lucky they are to be a part of this journey, because those statistics seriously are at elite levels. They don't happen very often, and if we can reproduce that again, we'll be very lucky, but they're unbelievable statistics.
Absolutely, it's a good shout. So it's a big congratulations to the My Racehorse owners who have bought into these horses.
Yes.
And it's also good luck to the ones who have bought into our next batch that we'll be talking about here as well. But first of all, I'll just give you a quick round of applause because you're the pioneer behind all this and you're the man on the job. So well done to you.
Thank you, audience.
Here's a couple other stats for you, Damon. Of those yearlings, the value of King Kirk has increased by 400%,
Woo.
even though he has sadly passed away. The value of Apocalyptic has increased by 525%, and the value of Ninja has increased by 97%. So, you know, you are turning gold into golder gold.
Excellent. I mean, when we say the Apocalyptic's value has increased by
525%.
that actually could be more, in my opinion, because if she was to go onto the open market now, the sky would be the limit of what she would make.
And now the good thing about Apocalyptic, right, as a filly with black type, she's built that foundational value. So it's not like, you know, when you get an offer to sell a stallion and if they come out and have a couple of bad runs, their value diminishes quite quickly. Is that really the same with fillies?
No, with fillies, she's a Group 2 winner already, and she will always be a Group 2 winner and a Group 3 winner. So she will always maintain that value. So even if she never won another race, she's always a Group 2 and the Group 3 winner. So she's going to be worth a high amount always. But as we know, she's knocking on the door for a Group 1. Absolutely.
And obviously if she wins a Group 1, that increases her value. And then if she wins an open Group 1 in time, that throws her value a bit higher. Would that be fair?
Absolutely. The more Group 1s they win, as you can see by a mare like Imperatrix, who made 6 million, the higher their value is.
Damon, what we're going to do here in the interest of getting the 2024 yearlings and comparing them to some of our 2025 crop, we've picked 3 of the yearlings that we think have quite nice parallels with some of these yearlings of 2025. So we're almost putting them in head-to-head battles, and we're going to try and take you back to the sales of 2024 and the sales of 2025. You've got your books here, which is perfect. And so you've got your notes written down. As you can see behind us on the screen, you've got King Kirk, who's Ole Kirk out of Oxford Angel. He is parading on our left. and then you've got the Too Darn Hot out of Awake the Stars colt parading on our right. Why we felt like these were nice comparisons is both of them sort of strike us as colt, potential stallions, strong movers. They're both really physical in the way they walk. So what was it about Ole Kirk, Oxford Angel, or King Kirk that struck your heart at the sales?
Well, I always thought Ole Kirk was one of the best credentialed first season sires to be offered that year. He was one of the best credentialed racehorses, being a dual Group 1 winner. And so we were always really keen on acquiring one of his progeny. So this boy came up early in the sale, lot 18, coming off a very good farm in Widden Stud, out of a winning Nakoni mare. And when he walked out of the box, he was just a real athlete. He's had great muscle, great hind quarter, good girth, a little short coupled, which means they're probably a little earlier, and just a nice attitude and good walk, which I just wrote athlete.
And you look at him and what you're talking about, athlete, and then when you compare it to the Too Darn Hot Awake the Stars colt, we see a similar free-flowing, uses his body well, athletic type in his walk as well, right?
Absolutely. If you have a look at his physical conformation, he's got a great hindquarter, that Too Darn Hot colt, and really good depth of girth down there. Very powerful animal and a very good shape about him, which the Ole Kirk, King Kirk was as well. He had a good shape. And one thing I loved about the Too Darn Hot, he's typical of the breed. Too Darn Hot himself is a medium-sized, powerful, great hindquarter, great girth individual, and he's to type. And that's very important because Too Darn Hot's proving himself to be an elite stallion with his statistics, and this colt's a very similar shape to him and a very similar shape to King Kirk.
And that's really interesting because both of them are also from great stallions. At the time when we bought King Kirk, Ole Kirk was yet to be proven, but since he's exploded onto the scene. So you've got one who's by a really strong stallion, early 2-year-old in Ole Kirk, and another one who's by a really strong stallion in Too Darn Hot.
Well, Too Darn Hot is a proven stallion now. His stats are elite. Like I said, he's got batting off about 7.5% stakes winners to runners, which is elite. Last season in Australia, he had 10 individual stakes winners, which is outstanding. You know, think Broadsiding, Too Darn Discreet, Arabian Summer, Rivellino, outstanding horses.
Yeah, and they do also kick on to be great 3-year-olds as well, as
Absolutely.
We've seen with Broadsiding, and we've got a few of ourselves. Charcoals has only gotten better, and a couple more, Bold Strike. So then when you look at the farms that they've both been brought up on, there's some good synergies there. They're both really well-respected farms in Widden and Yulong.
Well, absolutely. Yulong have shown they can breed an outstanding horse, think Treasure the Moment, and Widden have been around for many generations and are one of the leading studs in this country.
How do you feel about the stable comparison now? One of them went to the King and Queen of the Golden Slipper, and another one's gone to the King of the Blue Diamond. So both early 2-year-olds. I don't know if anyone's won too many more Blue Diamonds than Anthony and Sam Freedman. And also, obviously, King Kirk went to Gay Waterhouse.
Absolutely. I think you've picked ideal trainers for both of them. Gay and Adrian proved themselves with King Kirk, and Anthony and Sam, outstanding trainers. He couldn't be in better hands, that colt.
Speed genes for both horses are the exact same as well, Damon, which is fascinating. They both come up as CC long, which we generally see as a 1,200 to 1,600 metre horse.
I'm big on the speed gene, Ben. I really believe in it. I think it's great data to have. Very good to pass on to the trainers so they know what distance range to target the horses to. And I think the fact that they're both CC long is ideal. And unfortunately, King Kirk, with what happened to him, he would have been a perfect 1,600 metre horse, and the Too Darn Hot looks the same as well.
So we've already spoken about King Kirk after he won his Breeders' Plate. He was revalued to 1.5 million, increased his value there. We don't love to get ahead of ourselves, but you buy these good colts from Magic Millions and you just hope they've got stallion potential. I remember back when we were talking to Yulong around the sales, one thing that they mentioned is they were keen to retain 50% because they see this guy as also possibly being a stallion of theirs for the future.
Absolutely, that's what their business is all about. They want to make stallions, so they identified this colt as one they didn't want to sell completely, which is great confidence to me for the buyers out there and for us. So they believe this horse has stallion potential, and with his pedigree, he's by Too Darn Hot out of a Reduced Choice mare. If he performs on the racetrack, the sky's the limit.
So Damon, as we wrap this segment up of King Kirk and the Too Darn Hot Colt, just in a summary form, why are there some nice similarities between these two when you were buying them at the sales?
Well, I think as I'm looking at them on the screen there, I think the shape of them, the hind quarter of them, the walk of them, the good deep girth, and I remember them both at the sale with good attitudes, and to me a good attitude is extremely important in a racehorse.
Damon, next up we're going to look at the battle of the fillies, let's call it. We're comparing from 2024 sale, the Great Apocalyptic, with the 2025 sale, Pacifico. I think what I quite like about both these when you look at their parades is they, again, are really free-flowing. I know the common theme for both of them at the sales was they're quite light on their feet, the way they move, and they're obviously very athletic and quite well, even solid at this point of their career. Let's take back to, I think this will be fascinating anyway, now that we've seen what Apocalyptic's been able to do on the track. Let's rewind back to 2024. What was it about Apocalyptic that you just had to get her?
Well, the first thing was her sire, Extreme Choice, is an absolute freak. He is unbelievable statistics in Australia. He's a dominant stallion, he's sub-fertile, and his horses are unbelievable, and their versatility. So we were really keen to come home with an Extreme Choice. And when you look at this filly on screen, she's a really good doer. She's a little bit tubby, if anything, if I could say that, which is a great sign in a yearling prep, so they're handling it all well. She just strode out with a big overstep, a nice loose overstep, which meant she was going to get a little bit of distance. And just have a look at her there, head down, good walk, nice and loose, and by a champion stallion.
And you see, we always talk about when we buy yearlings, the great oversteps, loose walks, etc., but it's awesome when you see that transpire into the way she runs on race day. Being able to sit three wide and just stay in a rhythm and be really loose and long-legged. It favoured her more drawing wide than when she drew inside first up.
Absolutely. I was worried first up with that inside barrier that she'd get jammed in. With such a big striding filly, you want her to have plenty of room.
Now, when you then take Apocalyptic, let's go to what your notes were and what kind of comparisons you can see in Pacifico here on the right.
Well, I think these two are very similar types. They're very similar physicals, Pacifico is also a little bit on the tubby side, which is she's a really good doer, another great sign. She's a loose walker as well, a big overstride, similar head down, powerful hind quarter, and a quality filly. And by a stallion who I think is going in the upward direction, verging on becoming elite as well.
Which is the Autumn Sun. I think what's also interesting about these two fillies is the quality of the page on the dam side of both of them. And we've spoken about Apocalyptic. We bought her for 400,000 and now she's worth upwards of $2.5 million. And a contributing factor to that, obviously outside of her racetrack performance and her stallion, is also the family that backs behind her. You've got stakes winners in Subadar, Remedies, Geist. It's a really good, particularly Godolphin-bred family, isn't it?
That's well right, and also the fact that she's by Extreme Choice, it's a rarity. There's not many of those around who are Group 2 winners like her, so that's helped push her value up.
And then at a similar price bracket, so she was 400, we've got Pacifico at 350, and in her family you've got Espionage, who was the winner of the Breeders' Plate as an early 2-year-old. You have Military Rose, who won the 2-year-old Magic Millions. You've got a lot of early 2-year-old speed and stakes winning speed coming through a stallion like the Autumn Sun, who tends to, get out to a mile and maybe a bit further.
I think the great thing for my racehorse owner pedigree buffs here is she's by the Autumn Sun, who's by Redute's Choice out of a Galileo mare. And Galileo can sometimes throw you a bit stout. So Autumn Sun needs some mares with speed. Now this filly Pacifico is out of an I'm Invincible mare. The next dam is by Flying Spur, and the next dam is by Marauding. So we've got speed, and more speed. Two golden slipper winners are the second and third dams. If you know I'm Invincible, the mother of Pacifico is the sire of the dam of Asphora and Kamochi. So really fast horses.
That's absolutely correct. And just quickly, Pacifico obviously raised by Vinery, which we're quite familiar with. Obviously they how's the stallion Ole Kirk and are raising Prince Kirk at the moment, but having such a great farm to bring them up with, as was Apocalyptic, is so important.
Well, I think it's very important to buy yearlings off proven producing farms. And, you know, the first two are from Widden and Yulong. These two are Coolmore and Vinery, and they're the best breeders in the country, these farms. So buy off them with confidence.
We've seen throughout Apocalyptic's early career that she was good as a 2-year-old. In fact, she should be unbeaten. She should be a winner at 2. But she's clearly progressed and furnished on to be better as a 3-year-old. And, you know, she had some shin soreness and whatever else, which shows us that she wasn't up to a 2-year-old campaign. Do you look at Pacifico and go, okay, we're seeing a similar trend in the sense that she might get to the races at 2, but she's going to be better at 3?
I would absolutely 100% agree with that. And when you look at the stock by the Autumn Sun, they're only just turned 4, but that's what they've done. He's an elite sire of fillies. When you think he's had 9 stakes winners already, 3 Group 1 winners, all fillies, Autumn Angel, Vibrant Sun and Coco Sun, and they all came better as 3-year-olds. And if you think of one who's not a Group 1 winner yet in Autumn Glow, who's won 6 from 6, well, she'll probably win a Group 1 at her next start. So Autumn Sun is elite sire of fillies.
Hopefully she doesn't win a Group 1 at her next start, Damon, because we've got Willie Do It going into the Epsom. But if she can run second, that would be fantastic.
Well, she's knocking on the door to win a Group 1.
And then just looking at both stables that they're with, you got horses that are going to very good 2- and 3-year-old trainers in Apocalyptic and Michael Friedman, and then Pacifico and Björn Baker.
Absolutely. Björn's flying as a trainer, as is Michael Friedman. So they're both in great hands. Björn is a great trainer of fillies as well, so she couldn't be in a better stable.
Now let's go to bidding morning of Pacifico. I remember sitting there going, I'm not sure what we're going to be bidding on today, because I thought our first lot were a few lots down, because we played gentlemen's pool at the Magic Million sales, where we talk with our trainers and work with them, and we really liked her, Pacifico, but she was already eyed off from one of Björn Baker's really strong clients, right?
I think we'd also missed out on something earlier that went over our budget, and then we regrouped with Björn's agent Jim Clark and talked to Björn as well, and both had identified this filly as a gorgeous filly, more of a 3-year-old autumn type, and we thought on our feet and had a go at her, and we got successful.
Because their other client last minute pulled out, or he got something the day before.
Absolutely.
And so it was meant to be, I think, a bit of fate that she ends up in our hands.
And I think we outbid the Price Kent stable from memory.
We did, and they weren't happy. I remember
they were trying to get it off.
Mick Price was not happy when we were able to beat them in that bid, and he stormed off. So it's
good.
Unfortunate, but we got either storm with them, so that's okay. Now that we've seen and compared both horses, and we've gone through their walks, their pedigree, their physical, just in a summary, what are some comparisons that you made between the two when looking at them at both sales?
These are the two that are the most similar to me. Their walk, their looseness, their attitudes, and their robustness is what I see in both of those on screen.
Damon, our last comparison that we want to talk about here is two exciting horses. One's a 3-year-old and the other is a now 2-year-old, both with Michael Friedman, both raised at Sedge and Ho. On our left here, we've got Ninja, who was farming out of a So You Think mare called Impulsive. Really like the robustness and structurally, he's very well put together, this colt at the time, who's obviously now gelding. Back to the 24 sale, what was it about him that you loved?
I just wrote runner on the catalogue when he came out. I love the fact that he's by Farnham, another first season side that we're always attracted to taking a punt on. Farnham was a predominant Golden Slipper winner, but I like the fact that this boy was out of the So You Think mare, which meant he probably had a little bit more scope than a lot of the Farnhams and was going to get a little bit more better as a 3-year-old. So I loved his physical conformation, and I love the pedigree mix in him as well.
And then when you look over to the right, we see the hound here, and we'll talk about Wooten Bassett in a minute, but also out of a Lonhro mare called Tesneem. I think comparatively, neither of these horses are big, strong, colty brutes, are they? It's not like the two that we saw being King Kirk and the Two Darn Hot Colt earlier. They're sort of both structurally well balanced and use themselves well.
Absolutely. They both, again, good walkers. There's a bit of a theme and trend going on here. We like good walkers, good attitudes, and from good farms. And both of these colts are from Sedgenho, one of the premium breeders in the country. If I could just say on Sedgenho, think Jolly Star, Amelia's Jewel, King Colorado, and King's Legacy, all bred at Sedgenho.
What a track record they've got. So we've now got Ninja, who's been to the track 3 times. He won his second start by 11 lengths or something outrageous, and then he won at Rose Hill on a Saturday and has now been spelling return to work and making his way towards the 3-year-old Magic Million. So he's certainly a horse that is on the rise, that didn't hit it as a 2-year-old, but is now coming through as a 3-year-old.
I love the way Michael Friedman and the My Racehorse team have handled this boy. He won that first race by 11 lengths on a heavy
10,
11. It was a very heavy track. Came to town and won again. And a lot of times they can be gut busters. So he's been eased up and put out a bit to prepare for the Magic Million races. So I think the handling of this horse has been impeccable so far.
It's almost been a bit of a rinse and repeat when you talk to Michael around the hound. Everything he was saying about Ninja in the early days was quite similar to now what he's saying about the hound. A little bit backward, got a lot of growing to do, won't get to the track pre-Christmas. He's going to only get better as a 3-year-old. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, and his stallion Wootton Bassett, that's what his progeny do. They get better as 3-year-olds. And if I can just make a sad announcement, Wootton Bassett, who's an unbelievable international sire, unfortunately died yesterday. So this is a rare opportunity to get into one of his stock, because all I know is after these elite stallions die, the prices go up. So we're going to be very lucky to be able to buy another one of these for what we bought this boy at.
Yeah, and just well said, just to acknowledge that, like, it is devastating news around Wootton Bassett. It's something in racing, you just can't take anything. You can't get ahead of yourself at all, can you? You have to respect every good thing that comes your way.
Absolutely, you've got to enjoy the victories when they come.
So obviously the hound has entered into rare air now, and we got him for 340,000, and that was a fair, we thought that was value even at the time of the sale, because Wootton Bassetts, they were averaging, what, 500 across the sale or something outstanding like that?
Outstanding value, and I think where we did very well here, and he reminds me of a little bit of King Kirk, because they were both early in the sale. And when you strike early, the Magic Million sale just gets more expensive and more expensive. So we struck early and got him for, I've no doubt he would have made nearly double if he was on day 3.
And that's because most buyers are in bed, or they're saving their pennies, or they just want to get a feel for the market?
Well, there's a big catalogue. There's 1,000 horses in these sales. So when in the first 50, 100 lots, everybody's going, oh, well, you know, here's my price and there's another one later. If I miss out on this, I've got another one. And the sale just gets more expensive. So striking early is the way to go.
So he was 340K. The stallion was standing for 355,000.
This year was not at the time of conception, but this year he was Australia's most expensive stallion at 350,000.
If you can, now with all the news that was spoken about with Wootton Bassett, if you can throw this exact same bred type into the sale of 2026, day 3, what does he fetch?
Well, like I said, at least double, and more likely, you know, 700,000 or 800,000 in my opinion. He's out of a winning Lonhro mare from a great farm in Sedgenho, and he's a magnificent individual, so we're lucky to get him for what we got him for.
Well, you've already increased Ninja's value by about 100% with him now winning a couple of races and now heading towards a $3 million Magic Million. So you've done well with the hound. He hasn't even got to the track yet, and you've increased his value by about the same.
Exactly.
So that is,
and he is a potential to be a stallion, this boy. So if Michael handles him well, you know, he's got a lot of upside.
When we saw him not too long ago, he's quite a sweet, quiet colt, which is probably back to what you were saying around stallion potential. That's one variable you need going your way. Ninja was very flighty, coltish, and hence had to be gelded.
Yes, Ninja had a bit more nervous, raw energy, and he looked more ready to explode, where this guy's got a better temper and a bit more laid back, and will definitely be a better later 2-year-old, early 3-year-old.
Damon, I want to talk about the hound's pedigree here, because you've mentioned it with the Lonhro mare, who was Tesneem, who herself was a $1.7 million yearling when she went through the sale. So lovely type. She's a full sister to Heatherly, who is obviously was an extremely fast Yep, mare, winning, I think, the Group 2 Rubiton and a couple of other stakes races. But what is fascinating that we've never really spoken about is one of my favourite horses of yesteryear, Linton, is in the family. A Melbourne Cup runner.
Yes, Linton was a great horse for Lloyd and Nick Williams by Galileo, I think my memory serves me correctly.
Well done.
So the pedigree's got a bit of speed and also a bit of a middle distance as well. So it's a great balance of cross for Wootton Bassett, who is a super stallion who can get Group 1 winning 2-year-olds, Group 1 winning 3-year-olds, and he's also got El Rifa, the favourite for the Melbourne Cup at the moment.
You know Wootton Bassett progeny quite well because a lot of us, we see what they're doing in Australia as 2-year-olds now as they're entering their 3-year-old season, but as the Arcana rep, you're very familiar with what they do more abroad.
Yes, I'm lucky to go to the French sales in Deauville twice a year. So I've been seeing the stock by Wootton Bassett from day one, from when they were first yearlings, and I inspected the stallion himself at Harad de Eteram, where he stood, and he's a serious upgrader of a stallion. He started and got 23 mares in his first crop and got Group 1 winner in that small crop, and he's now the side of 71 stakes winners, including 16 Group 1 winners. He's just an upgrader, which is a rare thing in a stallion.
You mentioned before around the hound has the speed in his family, but also a bit more distance, and that's reflective in his speed gene at a CC long, which, believe it or not, is the exact same speed gene as Ninja, also a CC long. So you see them both getting out to similar trips?
Absolutely. Because Ninja is out of a So You Think mare, and Wootton Bassett himself, they both should be elite milers, in my opinion.
When you look at the stables they're with, not only were they bought from the same sale, raised by the same farm, they're both with the exact same trainer in Michael Friedman. He's going to give them every bit the chance to succeed.
Absolutely, and no stables are training better at the moment in Australia than Michael Friedman, and he's got 2 exciting colts on his hand here.
Can you remember how we ended up with Ninja?
Yes, we were trying to buy a Farnham as well.
Which is now far-sighted, and out of I Am Excited, she went for about
1.2, I think, 1.2 million.
Yeah.
So we got blown out of the water there, being very careful to spend the My Racehorse owners' money.
Exactly.
So when we got blown out of the water on that one, we looked at the other Farnhams and we loved this colt out of Impulsive. So that's how we zoned in on him.
Absolutely. So it was a blessing in disguise that we missed far-sighted, I think, and we didn't have the same problem with the hound because he was the first yearling we bidded on at the sale of 2025. All right, so now we've looked at both parades, talked to the pedigree, talked to the stable, talked to the farms, everything. In summary, what is comparable about these two?
Well, I think their pedigrees are very similar. I think their types are very similar. We've got one who's a proven stallion, Wootton Bassett, so we've got a rare opportunity to buy into one of his stock. But if you have a look at them, they're walking in those videos, they're physically very similar, and from the same farm and the same trainer. Let's hope we get the same results as Apocalyptic.
Absolutely, and well, that wraps us up for the comparisons, Damon. It's been an absolute treat having you on to part your wisdom that we see day in, day out at that Magic Millions sale. So thank you very much. We've no doubt all learnt a lot from it, and well done again on everything you've done for My Racehorse, and not just in particular, but let's make special mention of the 2024 Magic Millions sale.
Thank you, Ben. Great team to work with, and may we have continued success.